Cedric Maxwell podcast
is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
Read about people who tell me, and they talk about, when I talk about Larry Bird, and they say I don't give him enough credit. And I've always said Larry Bird is one of the greatest players ever to play the game. And then people say, you're jealous of where he's at and what Larry did. I'm not. I applaud what Larry did as a player. I won multiple championships with him. And I wasn't a bus rider. I was a bus driver. And I look at the Celtic City thing, and I'm like, man, I sure didn't get the kind of credit that I probably deserve. But a lot of people are saying, get over it. And I'm not. I'm gonna be petty. And if there's one thing you can talk about yourself, and these are just facts. There have only been 36 guys or 37 guys in the history of the NBA who've been finals MVPs. And damn it, I'm one of them. I've said that multiple times. To win 2 championships and to win it with the great Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish. And even when this team got beat in 1985 and I was hurt, you look at the Celtic City thing, what did they talk about? My inability to come back from injury. I was hurt. But did you need me when you already had 4 guys who were the top 75 players of all time? What does it say about me? Just a question.
Well, I'll ask you so we can transition to this if you want to. So I watched it as well. Why do you think it? Look, I get it. There's a story that they want to tell. And that story was Larry arrives, everything changes. And I understand it because that was big, not just for Boston. It was big for the time. It was big for the NBA that was floundering at that time. The whole Larry Magic thing is a big story in sports, period. So I get it. But what's not mentioned here is the first championship. Who's the finals MVP? Not brought up there. Get on my back in 84 isn't really brought up. And I get it. And I'm not sitting here just kind of glazing and like, all right, let's just, but I mean, obviously, you're featured in it, you're interviewed in it, you're part of it, but as you hear, you don't think they got everything right or represented everything correctly. You mentioned a couple of things with you. What else do you think that they might have missed the mark on here?
Well,
or as you were watching, or what did you think of it overall in terms of telling the story of that time?
Here's what I believe. People are going to tell the story in the way they want the story to be told. And I think I look at the Celtics City for the most part. I really liked it. There was some points in there that I absolutely love. But I think that people have a paintbrush and they painted history sometimes the way they want it to be painted. Was America discovered by Christopher Columbus? Or were some Native Indians already here? How do you do that? You discover the place that some people are already at? Wait, how do you do that? So, I mean, you paint the narrative, you make the narrative the way you want it to be told. And some of my friends just did not like the way it was told. So I'll probably end up having one of them on. Robert Parrish, his line to me was absolutely crazy. We'll get a chance to talk to him eventually.
Yeah.
But Larry Bird, he talked about when they had the big fight with Dr. J. And Robert Parrish says, I didn't help him. Man, we look around like, why didn't you help him? He goes, because when my contract was being renegotiated, Larry didn't try to help me. Matter of fact, then he had this quote from Larry saying,
he doesn't want to play here.
Right, don't want to play here. Get rid of him.
Right.
We got other guys who can play. And man, for Chief to hold on to that long to me was very, very surprising. And very telling for a guy who played with Larry longer than maybe any of the rest of us.
I think when that first aired, that episode, that caught a lot of people's eyes. It's like, oh, that's interesting to me. And because you don't think of it like that's the type of thing that you would hold on to for so long. And obviously it did. Like, you talk about it here. There's two things I want to ask you about it. The first one, you know, y- there's a big narrative around this team here, the Jays. Do they get along? Are they buddies? Does it matter? And people don't want to go there. Like they don't have to be best friends, but they respect each other and this and that. Behind the scenes with the Celtics, you guys definitely during that era definitely appreciated each other's talents and ability and knew that you guys were great. Like, and you knew that
Mhm.
everyone around you made it great. But how close you guys? How close were you to one another? Or was it just people went about their business and went about their separate ways?
We were completely different.
Yeah.
Most of the guys were very different. I mean, Robert wasn't like a guy that hung out with Larry. I mean, I can't say. I mean, Larry liked to drink beer. So
Yep.
if you weren't a drinker of beer in Larry's world, I didn't have a fit. Larry liked to fish and hunt and do all those things. That wasn't me. Uh, I can't see Big Robert Parrish fishing and hunting no place. Uh, Kevin McHale
Family
wasn't
guy.
wasn't the beer drinker, family guy. So Larry didn't have, he was more like Quinn was like one of his best friends around here, to me when Quinn was around. But yeah, just Larry's a different dude, and he said it. He said it. He said I was hard to play with, and I'll say that. I will say that the hardest guy to play with is a superstar, superstar, especially in a team sport, and you're playing opposite him. You're never going to be able to fill his shoes. You're never going to be able to be, you're always going to be in his shadow. And no, and not a fault of his, but that's just the way it is. Larry's greatness was somewhat alienated Larry from the rest of his team because he was so great. He was so great. He said, I was hard to play with. This is Larry Bird's quote. So, um, and I think he was demanding, but he wasn't the bully like Michael Jordan. I talked to Robert Parrish about it. He said Michael Jordan was a bully.
Yeah.
I didn't see Larry as a bully.
No.
He wanted you to play, but you couldn't. It's like I remember a big story, and it was once Kobe Bryant, and they kept talking to Kobe about Kobe worked so hard, and Phil Jackson said Kobe, Kobe, let me make sure you understand this. Nobody is going to outwork you, and that finally resonated with him. Like he always wanted, you need to work harder. You need to work harder. Some people aren't in that shell where they can work any harder. They do what they do. I had other things in life that I like to do. So
Yeah.
I was never going to be able to put in that time the way Larry put in that time.
Yeah. And yeah, it's beyond just the greatness, but do you think he had just his just influence in the organization was something that not painting it in a negative light, but like it was clearly like Larry and Red's show, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
in terms of how things would go. So you have a guy like I can't imagine Jason Tatum being able to influence whether or not Jaylen Brown got even though he's the
Mm,
best player. I don't know how much of maybe he
mm,
could, maybe he wouldn't. I don't know that
mm.
to that level. Larry had full almost like he's like assistant general manager sort of thing. Like you know, he mattered
He
in terms of
wanted
the
he
decision making.
wanted he wanted Bill Walton, and he
And
got Bill
and and
Walton,
and the Walton thing
and the
was
Walton
the
thing
thing I was
happened.
going to bring up. They tell the story famously that they're on the phone and he asked Larry, "Do you want him? Get him," and he gets him. And obviously that directly impacts you. So I'll bring it back to that whole situation because I'm curious. With the benefit of hindsight, the documentary talks about it. You're injured, and you say in the thing they tried to rush me back because we're trying to win a title and because you were that important to the team. And the vibe among some of the players, Larry, and even local media at the time is Max isn't working hard enough. which
Yeah.
is the truth somewhere in the middle, or do you think that was BS? You worked as hard as you could to get back. You just couldn't get back. You were hurt. They rushed you, and that was that. Has your thinking evolved over time with that?
No, my thinking hasn't. I think that maybe the way I positioned it, and I've said this before, of me not moping around. I had an injury and I wasn't woe is me. Well, I was still the smiling, laughing person, having a good time in life.
So they thought you're goofing off because of that?
People thought that you should be more serious. You should, oh my God, if I can just get this back. And that. No, I wasn't like that. And because I did not know how to be hurt, because I had never been hurt before. So by being hurt, how can I fit my way in? My personality is still my personality. I'm not going to change that overnight. And I think part of that was me. But I know that I was hurt. I know I was injured. And the proof would be that in the trade itself, the trade didn't go down the way everybody thought it was going to go down, because when they traded me out to the Clippers, I failed the physical, and that was with my other knee, and the one that was repaired. They said, "No, we can't do this." I had to stay in LA almost 2 months, running up hills, getting my legs stronger. Bill Walton never passed the physical. Read our back, said, "Hey, he's good. Let's play." So it does kind of still irk me, the fact that I've heard people say that before, like, you didn't work hard enough to come back. You weren't in my shoes. You weren't in my fucking shoes. How are you going to tell me, what it was like when I came back? How are you going to tell me? I remember being the thing which really was more fascinating to me was ice. Ice became my best friend. I could literally put ice on my knee, and it was so hot it felt like you were putting your ice in a frying pan, and I could hear that because it was that kind of, it was hurt. It was hurt. There was still inflammation, all that stuff that went along with it. But in all of that, John, I wouldn't change a thing. I helped
Yeah.
facilitate that trade, because if I did not go out to LA, that trade would not have happened. It would not have gone down. But I wasn't going to be a malcontent and sit around and be pissed off and saying, "Fuck it, you gonna pay me?" And that wasn't the way I was. If you did not
Yeah.
want me here, I was ready to go. And I lost all kind of money by leaving. I had a shoe deal that was paying me about $150,000 a year. Well, when I got traded from the Clippers to the Clippers, that was pot. I damn near had to buy my own shoes out there.
Yeah.
So there was a bunch of things that I left on the table that in hindsight, I wish I could have maybe made them do more financially if they wanted to make the trade. But also in hindsight, I look at it, a lot of it I wouldn't change. I think everything happened for a reason. They traded me. And I've had Sean Grandy, my broadcast partner, ask me one time, "Do you think the 1986 team was the greatest team ever to play?" And I said, "No." I said, "I look at Chamberlain's uh, team when he played with the Lakers, and they won like 33 games in a row and ran over everybody." But also, if you think about the 1986 team, if you're the greatest team to ever play, don't you win more than one championship?
Yeah.
And don't
I
tell me
mean,
about this. Don't tell me about this bullshit about people getting hurt. I just got hurt. Okay.
yeah.
Don't tell me
But
about this. This is the
that,
greatest team to ever be assembled. They won one championship.
yeah.
One.
I mean,
One.
the argument really is you should have won 3 straight from 84 to 86 with the assembly. And so 85 was the blip, because that team, you guys were a wagon, and you get hurt, and that hurts. That hurts the chances. The bench wasn't as deep then. You had guys who were aging out a little bit, and who knows if that goes differently if you don't get hurt and you're fully healthy and you're fully you. So let's do an alternate reality, okay? Alternate reality is you don't get injured. There's no reason to trade you. You play healthy all of 85. This team continues on. There's no Bill Walton. You roll through 86 and maybe even beyond. How many do you win?
At least 2 more championships.
Yeah.
I think we were good enough that year with the power that we had. the way we were running through teams. But when I got hurt, the dynamics of the team changed. So at least 2 more championships.
Yeah. Because even hurt, even in your first season in LA, even not fully yourself, you were back to a closer version of the guy you were before the injury, in terms of your production, in terms of being able to do stuff. Maybe you didn't feel as good, but you could play. Like you could still play. It just was that year that it didn't work that year. Now, how much does that irk you just in terms of reputationally? Like, doesn't that like you can be multiple. You're Cedric Maxwell, 1981 MVP, Finals MVP. You're Cedric Maxwell. Get on my back, boys. I'm going to take you home. In 84. But you're also Cedric Maxwell, who was that quote unquote malcontent that got kicked out of town for Bill Walton. It's almost like if you're going to make a Red Sox comparison, like the Nomar Garciaparra in 2004. You trade the better player who doesn't want to be here for the thing that'll fit, and that's the thing that gets you the championship. Like, how much does it like? Not suck, but it's there. These are the Cedric Maxwell headlines. Read all of those 3 things.
Yeah, those are things that still, they still, to be as candid as I can, the things that still would bother me, considering that, because even in the Celtic City, that's why I said that. You didn't talk about me being the Finals MVP. You didn't talk about me climb on my back, boys, or nothing like that to win the championship. And it's down at the library. It's etched on the wall in Boston's library. But you did show me in '85 where I'm eating French fries. You're talking about I was hurt. So
what do you got in the oven right now?
French fries. And they're probably burnt. They're probably burnt, John.
For the people at home, we started this podcast saying I might have to duck out because I got French fries in the oven. At least they're baked though.
Yeah.
The when they're in the oven, they're just potatoes. They're not French fries anymore.
Yeah, there's something like that. I got my man here. He looking over, going, "Yeah, those fries are probably cooked. They're toast now." I don't think you're gonna need. The alarm went off about 30 minutes ago. So
I know I'm killing you on it.
It is what it is. But I've enjoyed able to get a lot of this stuff off my back, and guys, we need you to. We enjoy our partnership with you, and we've said this before. You've only make us you make us stronger when you subscribe to our podcast and the content that we have, and we've had great guests, and we're going to continue to have great guests and continue to flourish and do some real good things. But we can't do without you. So hit that like button and tell us what you like about it, and if you don't like it, tell us what you don't like about it. We are that kind of guys where we'll take on criticism, and we'll also you will also bathe in all the glory too.